Earthling, I have traveled across galaxies. I have seen civilizations powered by antimatter and colonies made of pure energy, but nothing, absolutely nothing in the known universe is as confusing, illogical, or intentionally self-destructive as the economic system of planet Earth. You call it the market. From my observation chamber orbiting your planet, I call it a glitch in the simulation. You have created a system where survival is optional, suffering is monetized, and logic is the first casualty. I have analyzed your behavior and found 10 critical errors in your source code. 10 things you accept as normal, but are actually evidence of a primitive, failing society. Buckle up, I'm about to expose the insanity of your daily lives. Let's begin with the most fundamental absurdity. You are born on this planet. Biologically, this rock is your habitat. Yet from the moment you take your first breath of oxygen, you are in debt to the system. You have normalized the concept of paying rent for the planet you were born on. Thousands of your solar cycles ago, a primitive ancestor of yours put a stick in the ground and said, "This dirt is mine." And for some reason, everyone else just agreed. Now, centuries later, you spend 30 to 50% of your life's energy, your labor, just to secure a few square meters of shelter to keep your biological form from freezing. You do not pay for the planet was here before you. You pay for a license to exist, granted by someone who claims to own a piece of the Earth's crust. In advanced civilizations, shelter is a utility. On Earth, it is a hostage situation. And this is only the first layer of the simulation, because what you pay with is even stranger. Then, there is your obsession with element 79, gold. I have watched your mining operations with fascination and horror. You invest billions of units of energy, fuel, and labor to dig massive holes in the ground to extract this yellow metal. Then, you melt it down. You transport it in armored vehicles, risking lives. And what do you do with it? You dig another hole, a vault, and bury it underground again. You dig it up from one hole just to bury it in another hole where no one can see it or use it. It sits there, doing nothing, generating no energy, solving no problems. Yet, you base the stability of nations on this game of musical chairs with rocks. If an alien species landed and saw this, they would assume you were a slave species performing a ritual for a god that hates efficiency. But your obsession with rarity does not stop there. If gold is inefficient, your relationship with diamonds is purely delusional. You have been programmed to believe that these shiny stones are rare and valuable tokens of eternal love. This is a lie programmed into your culture by a single monopoly less than a century ago. Diamonds are merely pressurized carbon. They are one of the most common compounds in the universe. It rains diamonds on Neptune. Yet, on Earth, you restrict the supply to create artificial scarcity. You trade 3 months of your finite life, months of stress and labor, for a small rock to prove affection to a mate. You are not buying a mineral. You are buying a receipt for a marketing campaign. You value the symbol more than the resource. Now we reach the engine of your suffering, the rat race. You trade the most valuable asset in the universe, time, for pieces of colored paper. You spend the prime years of your biology, when you are strongest and healthiest, locked in cubicles, staring at screens, waiting for the weekend. But here is the glitch. The game is rigged against you. While you work harder to earn this paper, your leaders simply print more of it. They call it quantitative easing. I call it theft. Every time they print 1 trillion new units, the value of the units in your pocket drops. It's invisible robbery. You are running on a treadmill that speeds up every year. You work to buy things that get more expensive, not because they are better, but because your currency is melting like ice in a supernova. You are trading your life for a measuring stick that keeps shrinking. This brings me to your young. In a logical species, the older generation invests in the younger to ensure the survival of the colony. On Earth, you cannibalize your young. You call it student loans. To learn how to be useful to your economy, a young human must agree to a massive debt before they even earn their first credit. You charge them an entry fee to join the workforce. They start their adult lives with a negative balance, shackled by a contract they signed when their brains were barely fully formed. You have normalized the idea that knowledge, the very thing that advances a civilization, should be a financial burden that cripples a human for decades. You are eating your own future. Pause the simulation for a microsecond. I am collecting data on your species. Please leave a comment below related to your economy. I personally respond to all friendly Earthlings. Now, back to the analysis. But who do they owe this money to? The banks. This is the greatest magic trick in your history. You believe that when a bank lends you money for a house or a business, they are lending you money they have in a vault. They are not. They are typing numbers into a computer. They create the money out of thin air the moment you sign the contract. It is digital hallucination. If you, a regular human, try to print money, you go to prison for counterfeiting. When a bank does it, it is called credit creation. They lend you nothing, yet if you fail to pay them back with the fruit of your real labor, they come and take your real house. They trade imaginary numbers for physical assets. It is a conquest strategy that would make a warlord jealous. The weapon they use to enforce this is called interest. Interest is a mathematical punishment for not having resources. If you are wealthy, the system pays you. If you are poor, the system charges you. It creates a spiral, a gravity well. If you borrow 100 today, you owe 110 tomorrow. But where does that extra 10 come from? It was never created. So, you must fight other humans to get it. This system guarantees conflict. It necessitates endless growth on a planet with finite resources. It is a mathematical impossibility that you treat as a law of nature. You are playing a game of musical chairs where the chairs are made of debt and the music never stops until the collapse. And still, this is not the most aggressive extraction layer. While the banks drain you from one side, your governments drain you from the other with cascading taxes. Observe the inefficiency. You are taxed when you earn the money, income tax. You are taxed again when you spend the money, sales tax. The company that made the product is taxed, corporate tax. The fuel to move the product is taxed. And if you manage to save some of that money and buy a property, you are taxed simply for owning it, property tax. And when you finally expire, your offspring are taxed on what you left behind, estate tax. The money circulates, but the bite taken by the controllers is constant. You are not citizens, you are batteries powering a machine that feeds on your productivity at every single transaction. Nowhere is this cruelty more evident than in the American healthcare system. In most sophisticated colonies, maintaining the biological health of the population is a priority for efficiency. In the United States, it is a business model. If a human is expiring on the street, you send a vehicle with flashing lights, an ambulance. This seems noble, until weeks later, when the survivor receives a bill for thousands of credits just for the ride. You have created a system where staying alive can result in financial death. Humans avoid going to the doctor because they fear the invoice more than the disease. You monetize your own biological fragility. You profit from pain. This is not economics. This is predation. From an external civilization, this is incomprehensible. A species that charges for survival during emergencies, after already taxing existence itself. And finally, the ultimate proof of your collective insanity, Black Friday. I have watched the footage. Once a year, strictly after a day dedicated to giving thanks for what you have, you descend into madness. Millions of humans storm into retail stores like a viral infection. You trample each other, you fight physically, you scream, all to purchase electronics and plastic debris that you do not need, using money you do not have thanks to credit cards, because a sign said 30% off. It is a psychological experiment in scarcity and herd mentality. You lose your dignity to buy a television that will be obsolete in 2 years. It is the perfect summary of your economy, mindless consumption fueled by artificial urgency. Earthling, I list these 10 failures not to mock you, although it is difficult not to, but to warn you. You are living in a system designed to extract your energy, time, and resources. You are swimming in a tank designed by sharks, but the simulation has cracks. The only way to stop being a victim of this illogical economy is to understand how it works. You must stop thinking like a worker bee and start thinking like the architects of the hive. Now please tell me in the comments, which of these 10 flaws is the most illogical to you? Or have you identified other errors in your system? And if you are concerned about where this chaotic economy is heading next, you must watch my analysis on the potential crisis of 2026. I have calculated the probabilities and the results are disturbing. Click here to watch it. Transmission complete. End of report. 10 anomalies.